Hi, everyone. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. It's me, Eartha. Thank you and welcome to our show today. I have a very special show for you. I just wanted to kind of take some time out and check in with you to see how you're doing. How's things going for you? I know that there is so much going on in our world, and it can be overwhelming and it can stir a lot of emotions. And so I thought it'd be a great idea for just you and me just to sit down and have a little time together. And as we're spending our time together, I recognize that your time is precious. And so some of the things that you may not catch, be welcome to review the recording. And that's why I like recording the Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast for your convenience. It might be a lot of information. It may be a lot of things that I'm going to share with you today that you already know. At least take one thing away. What I'd like to share with you is a tool, and it's called a mindfulness attention awareness tool. And I will put the resources and the link in the description. And any other tools, I'll share with you also in the link. I hope you find this tool really helpful. I used the tool with one of my students, and it was really a great, revealing picture. So when we talk about mindfulness, let's start there. Mindfulness, as you may remember, is the ability to be aware of our senses, what we see, what we hear, what we touch in our environment without judgment, and paying attention to our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. That's just a basic understanding, basic definition when I refer to mindfulness. And oftentimes our world is so busy that many times we don't pay attention to one part, what we hear, what we smell, or pay attention to our feelings. And so here's an opportunity to pay attention to you. Oftentimes we will find ourselves either getting distracted by our thoughts or our emotions. Sometimes those emotions can be negative emotions. When you're taking time out, let's say for a walk, or you have a few minutes, have you paid attention to what you usually think about or your emotions? The research shows that more often than not, our thoughts usually circle around negativity. We have a lot of negativity around. I mean, how can we escape it, right? We're going to do this. We're going to find a chunk of time. Let me make this very clear. not to deny anything, not to paint a picture that doesn't exist and live in a world of non-reality. That is not the goal of a mindful world, a mindful existence. The goal is to pay attention to the right now. And that's another part of the definition of mindfulness. Is paying attention not to the past, not worrying about the future, paying attention to the right now. Let's get started. Usually, when we pay attention to our negative thoughts because of a negative experience, we tend to ruminate. I'm going to bring my notes right here. We ruminate over the experience. And sometimes, if you're really good with the rumination, we can relive the whole experience over and over and over again. Maybe you don't do this, but maybe you might know someone who relives negative situations, bad experiences, maybe from childhood, from a bad relationship, a trauma, a terrible experience. I mean, it seems like a natural response to the situation is to think about it and pay attention to those hurt feelings and sorrow and loss. And part of our mind is trying to process exactly what is going on. The physical part of that, what is going on with ourselves physically? The body starts to pay attention to the stress, to the anxiety, maybe to the depression. And part of it starts to, may I use the word, it shuts down. We may not eat like we should. Maybe we don't eat enough. Maybe we emotionally eat. And so we're eating things that's either not healthy or we're eating things when we're not hungry. It's a response to the stress. As we respond negatively to the stress over and over, as we relive the stress internally, mentally, physically, our body begins, maybe the blood pressure begins to rise, the pulse begins to increase. We have difficulty sleeping. It's like we're reliving the nightmare over again. And sometimes we get to a point where the body says enough, and we have a physical illness, an event. And that could vary from all kinds of physical events. And maybe you're feeling that or experiencing that. May I share that when we ruminate over negative events, it causes a negative physical change in our body. So what are we supposed to do? Just make it like nothing ever happened? No, that's unrealistic. Do we just blame somebody? Well, it's a choice of blaming, but is that really going to help? There's also a type of rumination over positive events. Maybe is something that's really positive that we've experienced in our lives. And with that comes positive effects of our body. We are more relaxed, our minds are more open. You can see things with a positive perspective. So if you take this person that has ruminating positive emotions and positive events, you set them beside someone who is ruminating over negative emotions. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a very pleasant situation or a pleasant relationship, maybe. The goal in mindfulness is not to live in the past. It's not to worry and live in a future that hasn't even occurred yet. I mean, it's good to look forward to things and plan things out and have a strategy. Living there can be very stressful. Another part of the rumination is judgment. Blaming, we talked a little bit about it, blaming someone else, blaming ourselves, just finding a tag of judgment and sticking it all over our bodies. When we load our minds with judgment and negativity, we begin to think about ourselves negatively. It's called negative self-talk. And we begin to believe that. And then we begin to become that negative person. But deep down, you know that's not you. And you want to get back to the you.